So I have a memory of you and me. No, that's not correct English. Why would I say you and me?
You and I?
No, you and me is correct because I would say me sitting in the kitchen.
Oh. I sitting in the kitchen.
That doesn't sound right. So I was correct. So I'm just gonna.
You was correct.
I are correct. Let's start again.
What?
I remember professionalism. I remember us sitting in the kitchen in England, and I've always been a skeptic, whether it be about religion, other things, whatever. But I remember saying to you, "There's no such thing as ghosts." We come from a religious household,
Yeah.
and you said something to me which was really, I think, it dug deep in there, and it really set me on a path. I think I was very young, but you said to me, "You believe in God, but you don't believe in ghosts."
I remember having that argument with our father as well.
Yeah,
I was like, devil's advocate, Milty.
And I remember sort of challenging you and saying, "Oh yeah, well, have you ever seen a ghost?" And your answer really surprised me, and I'd like you, if you don't mind, to share the story. It's not particularly funny or anything; it's just a story. But I think it gets us into the first of all into the Halloween mood that we seem to have been in the last few episodes. But also,
we're talking about Ghostbusters.
We are talking about Ghostbusters, But I don't believe in that sort of thing. But I find it really interesting whenever you tell this story. I'm always like, really? So please tell it.
So here's the thing. I don't know what I saw because I'm talking about a memory of a 13-year-old boy. That's what I was. So basically here's the gist of it. And again, a disclaimer, I'm
not a crazy person.
I wouldn't say that anybody who saw something like this is a crazy person. But sometimes I feel that way about myself. I don't know if I saw this or if I'm, my memory is fuzzy and somebody was playing a prank on me. I don't know. But I used to go to boarding school in Carmel College in England, in around sort of Oxford area. Mm-hmm. We had our dorms in a very old mansion, which was called Mansion House, on the grounds. And apparently it was a hospital in one of the old, one of the wars. I'm not sure if it was First World War or if it was before that. But anyway, so there were definitely people who died there. Obviously, it'd been somewhat renovated, and I think the bare bones of it stayed. And there were stories of people, kids in rags and whatnot being seen around that area. And I don't know if that was people making shit up to scare everybody, that we were a bunch of kids. So,
you heard those stories before your experience, or you heard about them afterwards? Because
it's all sort of at the same time, during, before, around.
Okay.
Anyway, so I remember being at the end of it was a very long corridor, and I was walking towards my dorm room, and I saw somebody walk into my dorm room. I don't know who it was. It looked like a child. It looked like somebody around my age. I couldn't really make out what they were wearing, but our school uniform was purple. So if they weren't wearing purple, then it was it kind of stuck out. And this kid walked into my room, and when I got there, which was literally a few seconds later, there was nobody in there.
So I first of all I have great respect for people's belief in the supernatural, or their experiences, and I also have great respect for people who believe in God. It's just not for me. But I think that there's, first of all, the imagery is very, very creepy to me. Just like a little boy walking into your room, you go in there, there's somewhere there. And I remember challenging you. I remember saying to you, like, what if they jumped out the window? And you were like, that there wasn't time.
No, but also we were like high up.
Yeah.
We're on like the first or second floor.
And I remember it stayed with me for a little while. And the thing is that I had, I don't think you can really call it an experience. I had a thing that happened that I I know, or in my brain was probably, it was me hearing things. I was tired and it was the morning or whatever. But like I had a thing where we went. I was getting ready for school, and I was like 16, right? And I heard someone shout like, "Get out!" like behind me. And I turned around and our mother was like coming out of the kitchen. So she couldn't have been right behind me at that moment. And I remember that happening and immediately going, "Anybody see a ghost?" But like, it freaked me out. And then obviously, I'm very skeptical.
Where were you? Where was this?
In our first apartment here in Israel.
Would they have said it in English? Get out?
Yeah, well, that's what made me skeptical about it, is that I heard it in English.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I have a up-your-ass friend who's really annoying who said to me, well, if it's a ghost, who knows that they speak any language at all, and it's just all in your head, and so you would understand it. And I'm like, that sort of shit annoys me, like that trying to find an explanation for something. But I'm saying that when people say to me, "Did you have an experience?" I will always say no, because I'm a skeptic. But at the same time... So
here's the thing. I have a similar story to that.
Okay. In that apartment?
I'm not sure if it was in that apartment. I can't remember exactly when. I have a very vivid memory of being in a sort of sleep state. I was just sort of, I guess, in the last phase of sleep when you're about to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And somebody yelled in my ear.
That's what I experienced. I experienced someone yelling in my ear.
Right. And there was nobody to yell in my ear.
Yeah.
So I remember being sort of woken up by that. I don't know if that's like a remnant of a dream.
So that's what I think that when we are extremely tired, we are extremely susceptible to, lots of different things that were sensory things that may be going on in our dream state, or whatever. I was late for school. I was literally just like jumped out of bed and had gotten my clothes on and put things like in my bag. And obviously I was awake. I was not in a sleep state,
right? But
I was very, very tired. It was just. I bring it up simply because, although I say I'm a skeptic, there's a little niggling part of my brain that goes, "What if?"
Right. So I don't know what I believe. I don't know if I believe in it or not. But definitely, after watching certain movies, if you're alone in the house,
you're very susceptible.
You're very susceptible in the dark.
Yeah.
For example, I watched Hereditary, and there's the main character, Toni Collette, sees a vision of her mother, and she's just sort of standing there smiling at her in the dark. And it's very creepy, but also like at that point of the movie, spoilers, you don't know who the mother is. Like you would imagine that it's her mother and she's just died and she's a very benevolent presence. But later on you realize that maybe she's not that. And I live in an apartment where the lady that sold us the apartment, her sister used to live in the apartment, who owned the apartment, and who died 5 years ago or something like that. And I don't know if she died in the apartment or not, and that's always kind of creeped me out because it's so after watching movies like Hereditary and then going to bed, you're sort of checking behind you in the shower or in the bathroom mirror, and you don't know if maybe you see a shape or something. There's definitely like my son, when he didn't want to go to sleep, he's got a rocking chair in his room, and he would plant his foot from the bed. He'd plant his foot on the rocking chair and would rock it. So you would see this like silhouette in the dark against the nightlight of the rocking chair just fucking rocking
you
by
standing
itself.
There with the look on your face of absolute like, it's happening.
Right, exactly. And he's only 3.5. He doesn't know how to scare the shit out of somebody yet because I haven't taught him.
His face, you think maybe he does know what he's doing.
Well, I haven't taught him to wear clown masks and grunt. Yeah. So that's pretty. I mean, whether you believe in it or not, that kind of thing can sort of send a creepy feeling up your spine. But anyway, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Let's do an intro. What's our seat number? Hello and welcome to What's Our Seat Number, the show where we ask questions like, what is the rabbit's foot? And hopefully do a more admirable job at answering that question than that film does.
Hey!
I am Simon Gross.
And I am Jonny Gross.
What are you, Jonny?
I'm a filmmaker.
And I am a 3D artist.
I did not know that.
Evidently from the last couple of episodes. Can I get you anything,
No, I'm good. I'm hopefully gonna...
Still a bit under the weather?
Keep chugging down on this tea. Well, it's been a week, apparently, since the last episode.
Shh, you're ruining the magic.
I'm ruining the illusion. The Graham Norton show is filmed on Friday nights.
Fantastic. Right, so
what movie are we talking about today?
Last episode we talked about Ghostbusters.
Uh-huh.
And we dipped in a little bit into Ghostbusters 2 and Ghostbusters Answer the Call, but each time that we talked about it, we said, put a pin in it, put a pin in it, put a pin in it.
Which, depending on how closely you're following our podcast, is probably going to get annoying for you at some point.
Yep. But so are most of the things coming out of our mouths. Anyway, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about today's episode because you're still not feeling well. Do you have a tagline game for Ghostbusters 2?
No.
Okay. And do we want to do a context flashback for Ghostbusters 2?
Hey, do you want me to just grab the taglines from last week's episode and chuck Ghostbusters 2 in there? No?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? So, the supernatural spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
Have a nice end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Death is no way to make a living. We're back.
The Supernatural Spectacular. That's the one.
No, it's We're Back.
Oh, I could never have guessed that. Fantastic. Tagline games down.
Tagline game down. Today we are talking about Ghostbusters 2 and Answer the Call. There's a bit of controversy with Ghostbusters 2 in that a lot of fans don't really like it.
Which is just something that for me is quite unfathomable. Unfathomable. That's such a fucking difficult words. Unfathomable to me.
Okay, this is what happens when you try and shoot Superman and Superman 2 back to back.
Right, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
We should have done this a little bit spread out, but what are you going to do? It's a little bit of a mess, but I think we'll bring it together. So,
we'll bring it together.
For fuck's sake, Jonathan.
Okay, so I want to read out. There's a letter in the Ghostbusters 2 Blu-ray box set that says from Ivan Reitman, the director. Mm-hmm. He says a few words about Ghostbusters 2. Though it ended up doing very well, it was the subject of a fair amount of criticism when it first came out. It's certainly not as good as Ghostbusters. Sequels rarely are, especially when the original breaks so much new ground. But please take a fresh look at it. I think you'll be surprised at how charming and funny it is. I just think that's a nice little bit there because in the extras, Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd talk about Ghostbusters 2 and how there's a lot of great moments in there, and it's a lot better than people seem to give it credit for. And I have to agree because I don't know if anybody remembers last week's episode, but I did mention that Ghostbusters 2 was the movie I saw before the original Ghostbusters. And I grew up watching Ghostbusters 2 over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I love it to pieces. I just think it's a brilliant... And I saw it in this viewing today and yesterday, because I watched it in two parts. Mm-hmm. I think that it's subtle. Again, the comedy is very subtle. There's a deepening of the relationship between Peter and Dana. There's a deepening of the relationship between all four of them. And there's also a nice relationship between Lewis and Janine in there. I just think it's very character centric as well as being big and bombastic, which it certainly is. There's definitely an element of bigger, better, more budget. But I think it's a great sequel, and I don't understand the hate for it.
I actually love both of these movies quite equally. I will always want to go for the first Ghostbusters, but there's something that I can't understand it. And I really hope if any of you are listening and you've seen these movies and you love the first one, you don't like the second one, or even if you do like the second one but you can understand why people don't like it, whatever, I would really love it if you were to just get onto our Facebook group and just tell us why.
Yeah, tell us
because
why.
I don't understand it,
I don't
and
understand.
I really want to understand it. And this time when I watched it, I really, really tried. I really tried
to hate it.
Not about I tried to hate it. I just tried to see the other side of it.
Right.
And I, like I said in the last episode, I'm watching it with blinders on. It's really, really difficult for me to or to not like it. And I can talk about all of the things that I love about it, but I just I can't even complain about the villain. I like the villain. I can't complain about anything. The characters and their interactions, it feels like they're the same people. It doesn't feel like
it feels like a progression.
Yeah, and I just don't get it. And
so you said that you'll go naturally towards the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But you see, for me, there are certain film series that I just have to. I can't just like grab a sequel off the shelf and say I'm going to watch that. I have to watch them in order.
Yeah.
So I would watch the first Ghostbusters and then immediately chuck in Ghostbusters.
But you're a freak,
2.
Johnny. You know that.
Yes, I do know.
Okay,
that.
I'm just saying.
But I love Ghostbusters 2. But I think that it's best taken with the first one, and I think that that is a mark for me anyway. That's a mark of a good sequel, that you can watch it right after the first one and have it be a perfectly good continuation, and enjoy it just as much. So yeah.
I think it's I just can't get enough of either of these movies. I really, really like them, and there's a lot to talk about. With this movie, with just story-wise and its progression, and how similar the movies are, yet they're so different in tone, I feel. And also, there's lots to say about the VFX and whatever. But would you like to start with, there's a thing that we were toying with that we didn't do in the last episode, but I really want to sort of do it today.
Okay.
Is the most quotable line award.
There's a series of awards there, if I remember correctly.
I see them, and I'm going to go through them, but I wanted to start with the most quotable line. Because that's extremely difficult. Well, if you want, I can give you top 3.
Okay.
Go on.
A child.
Brilliant. Go on, next.
Yeah. He was borderline for a while, then he crossed the border.
Lovely.
I like that one. I like Viggy, you have been a bad monkey.
Damn,
there's
that was
just
going to be
so
mine.
many. No, but there's just so many. Like I just like the first 3 that came to mind, but I could quote this movie till tomorrow morning, to be honest.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Even though tomorrow morning is in like an hour and 15 minutes.
I just I always know that with you, like, I can get a much better quote from you than we'll get from me with these movies, because I was
extremely hot, Peter.
Hot? The Upper West Side? Oh, but I would.
So all of
Peter
Janusz's
McNichol's lines are just brilliant. Everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know this.
Yes, can you do something? Say, no, I can't do something. Do I have a bad breath or something?
Good night. Let the bed bugs bite.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Mr. when Dana is not here.
Yeah, we know that, Johnny.
So why are you came?
Brilliant. I love him. I was going to say, who's the best actor in this movie? That's another award, Best Actor Award. Do you want to give it to Peter McNichol?
I think give it to Peter McNichol.
He just, consistently throughout the movie.
That whole thing with
Scourge. I've heard all of this.
Also, one of my favorite lines of his is actually, I quoted this to you earlier, but it was something that you've quoted to me before, and I've always sort of gone, bleh, but just the whole,
and let me tell you something here. There are many parts to being the mother of a living God.
Good.
So we can get a
worst actor.
Apartment, car,
worst actor award.
Worst actor award.
Can we say, instead of worst actor, least memorable? Because I don't think anyone does a bad job in this movie particularly. By the way, because we didn't do this in the first movie, but I did notice this when I was watching Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. That if we ever did the best actor award, or the best cameo award, or the best remember the red-faced cop who blows a whistle from the Phantom, right? So that sort of thing. When Lewis Tully runs out of his apartment, the dog is chasing him. Right. This elderly neighbor comes out of her apartment. She sees what's going on, and she goes like, "Who and then goes back inside.
Yeah.
And I was drinking and it made me snarf.
There's a bunch of those. There's the guy standing at the elevator who does his like.
I'll take the next
I'll
one.
take the next one. That must be some cockroach. And there's also, if you want to talk about best extra, so the newsreader that's talking about the locomotive that used to rattle past, there's like this guy checking out his beard behind him over his shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. I
just
did
like-
not realize
There's
that.
just this guy standing behind him, kind of like. Yeah.
There are some very, very good moments, and you've written something here which in the awards section, which I find to be really, really interesting. If we're already in the awards, is "Core Blimey, Governor, worst best accent, Peter McNichol."
Peter McNichol once again. Yeah.
So I just I know that we've gone through the awards, but I wanted to give them a stage. And if you like the awards and you would like to hear them again in future podcasts, please let us know on the Facebook group. You can just search "What's Our Seat Number" on Facebook and have a little bit of a go at us that this was too boring or that it was fantastic and you love the movie and hearing us quote it gave you joy, which is definitely what it does for me, to be honest. We can do that. Let's just do that for the rest of the podcast.
What? Just
Quote the movie.
Quote
Let's
the
go
movie.
through it. Digiting 5 years later.
So that opening, I found that quite fucking horrifying this time around.
Why? Because of the child in danger.
The child in danger, yeah. We both got kids. My youngest is a year and 3 months, 4 months, and yours is how
7 months old.
7
now.
months old. And that's all I could see. That's all I could think about was.
Yeah, I think my youngest is probably around Oscar age.
Oscar age, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Not during that scene, but during the scene later on where Peter McNichol's character is a ghost somehow. It's a bit of a what the fuck moment.
Yeah. I love that effect though.
It's
so
brilliant.
retro.
It's brilliant. But he's suddenly dressed as a nanny. It's a little bit of a what the fuck moment. But it's also very effective and quite scary. And the fact that the scariest thing is that Oscar, who is a baby who doesn't look like he can stand, his age, is standing on the edge of this ledge on the side of the building, and that freaks me out. Like that, this time it made me go, God, someone get him down from there. It's like very that was scary for me. But so the opening was very sort of harrowing for you to watch.
Also, like you mentioned that scene on the roof of the apartment building or on the ledge, but also Lewis and Dana are kind of like putting Oscar on the bed to go to sleep. And I was just thinking, if you leave a baby on the bed like that without any kind of sort of border, anything to like stop it from
It's gonna roll off.
He's gonna roll right off and pff.
Yeah.
So that kind of freaked me out as well, but for different reasons.
Okay. So basically, you were watching this through the eyes of social services.
Through the eyes of a parent, yes. Yeah.
I found that a lot of this movie, and a lot of movies that I watch now are definitely through the lens of being a parent and children being in danger. But because a lot of the danger in Ghostbusters is very there's a lot of cartoon danger, and this is also something I want to talk about when we talk about Answer the Call. The female-centric sort of reimagining or reboot or whatever you want to call it.
It's definitely a re-something.
It's a re-something. Their approach to danger is quite different from the established tropes of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, which is something that I definitely noticed. So I wanted to ask you if there's anything in this movie that just doesn't work for you, because I have a lot of trouble with this. Like I feel like everything works for me, and I know that that's a very boring thing to say. Like even things that I want to say don't work for me. Like the slime that makes this thing that makes his words. Even the slime that makes things dance or move or come to life.
But that's the whole concept.
It's the whole concept. I will take it. Right. Yeah. So is there anything in the movie that doesn't work for you?
So only because I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff on YouTube and whatnot, but certain aspects of the way Vigo is realized, sort of as a floating head in the painting with the river of slime behind him. I saw a YouTube video of Wilhelm von Homburg. So they recreated the painting, and with him in it, kind of thing, and he was just gonna sort of stand there and talk, as he is in that pose in the painting.
Yeah, I also saw some behind the scenes of him like standing in front of it on like a soundstage or a green screen, a blue screen or something.
And that would have been great, but kind of static.
Yeah.
What they finally came up with was he's a floating head with the river of slime behind it, and he's for the finale as well. He's kind of confined to that, and it's a little bit abstract for me. I don't know. It's kind of I don't know.
So it works for me, but what I would have done is I would have had him sitting on a throne that is inside that setting of the, because if you look at the river of blood, it's not necessarily the river of slime. I mean, in the painting, it doesn't really look like the subway behind it. It kind of looks like a illustrious sort of hall,
right?
And
with a pink lagoon.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of think like that he could have been sitting in a throne or something, but that's just like, that was a thought that I had, like, how would I have done this today with the effects mastery that I have today? Yeah.
Right. But I think also his speech is I've always found it a little bit odd, actually. I don't think this is just from the last viewing, but it's mainly because he's dubbed by Max von Sydow, and the dub isn't particularly successful, mainly probably because Wilhelm is not a great actor, or wasn't a great actor. I think he's dead now.
I don't want to step on the toes of. Do you want to visit Trivia Corner then?
Sure.
If we're
Go
already
for
doing
it.
this. So Trivia Corner.
Welcome to Trivia Corner, Halloween version.
That was brilliant. Put some like reverb on that, and then you got like I'm brilliant. Anyway, so just an interesting fact. Before, I don't know if I'm going to step on the toes of anything that you've got written there, but apparently, Mr. Wilhelm von Germansbergenfin sort of walked out of the premiere when he realised that he'd been dubbed.
That is what I got written here.
I think I'm going to let you do the trivia, and you'll let me do the VFX, and then we just won't step on each other's shit.
That's fine. I think that he's a very striking character. He's a good villain, but he could have been used a little bit more. Basically, that's how I felt.
But what do you feel about him walking out when he realised that his voice wasn't being used?
Hilarious.
What? No, the reason I'm asking you is because there's a thing that I've seen where they don't tell someone that they've been recast or that they've been dubbed, and like, why would they not tell him that and have him go to the premiere and then find out like that? Like, it feels like a faux pas almost.
Surprise.
It's I think it's rude. I think it's bad etiquette, bad etiquette. So Trivia Corner.
Another piece of trivia is that apparently Peter MacNicol, who starred with Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice, apparently he got his accent for Janos from her.
How?
Her accent for Sophie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's gonna forever colour the way that I see that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So
what else you got?
What else have I got here? Okay.
Trivia Corner's rather sort of like dark and sort of cobwebby today. Is that the Halloween aesthetic?
Loose. Yeah.
I'm like a little bit scared in here. It's a little bit, cramped, and I'm also seeing things crawling out of the shadows, and it was a little bit creepy.
Okay. Bill Murray said in an April 2021 interview, hey, that's this year. That wasn't so long ago. That he and the other cast members signed on to this film based on a script they didn't use. Says Murray, Ghostbusters 2 ended up not being the story they wrote. They got us in the sequel under false pretenses. Harold had this great idea, but by the time we got to shooting it, I showed up on set and went, what the hell is this? What is this thing? But we were already shooting it, so we had to figure out how to make it work.
Does he say what the idea originally was?
No.
Well, then what's the point in that? I'm curious now. Maybe it was a direct sequel to the whole Gozer thing.
I have one more trivia corner.
I'm interested.
The scene where Stans and Spengler are developing photographs that burst into flames and threaten to burn them alive was added during reshoots to increase the sense of danger and urgency. After assembling an early edit, Ivan Reitman saw that he had been focusing so much on the Venkman-Barrett relationship that he was neglecting the thrills. The tunnel scene with the phantom heads is another added sequence.
Wow, okay, so I didn't know that about the tunnel sequence, but I did know that about the the burning pictures, which, by the way, is really, really creepy, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Also, how the you see the lock.
Yeah, the
itself.
lock locks itself. Did you notice that Ray says, "What are we going to do? Shove our heads in the toilet?"
When?
So they realize that the door is locked, and Ray goes, "Why is this locked? Why is this locked?" I swear, I watched it like a few times.
Closed?
He says, "Why is this closed?" And then Egon is pulling him back, and he's like, "Get back, get back, get away from it, get away from it." He's like, "What do you want us to do? Put our head in the toilet?" Because there's a toilet in the corner. And I've never noticed that before. And it just made me go, what did he just say? And I had to replay it a few times.
There is a precedent for that, actually, because both of them in this movie have big hair.
Mm-hmm. protect the
first
beehive.
The first thing that would go on fire.
So thank you for your trivia corner contributions.
That's very good.
That was very good.
But I was thinking that it's interesting because another thing here that's written here is that because of the success of the real Ghostbusters, they had to soften things in Ghostbusters 2. Like, for example, they nixed Ray and Peter smoking and things like that.
Yeah.
But then you have things like the tunnel scene with the heads.
That's not very family friendly at all.
It's pretty horrifying. I mean, I remember being shit scared of that when I was little. And there's a bunch of severed heads on spikes. Also, I noticed that Egon kind of like goes right up to one and like sort of screams in its face.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, aside from that, it's kind of horrifying, and I just wondered what you thought about that, like in terms of like family friendly, because I was a kid when I saw this. You were a kid when you saw this.
I was always frightened of the head sequence, and I remember skipping it when I was a kid. I used to fast forward through it. Remember fast forward?
Yeah.
I used to fast forward through it because it was I was very scared of stuff. Like, I was scared of, as we've mentioned before, of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I was thinking about this while I was driving to a video game developers meetup, where I was thinking about how we had talked about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, and how every time that I started watching the Page Master from the beginning, and you see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's mansion in the opening credits, which is basically smoke, sort of representations of the locations they go to, and you hear like a kind of, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember one time that I watched it in my brain, something clicked, and I said to our mother, who was in the room, "I think Mr. Hyde's in that house." And I remember her saying, "Do you want to not watch this?" Like, I remember her saying to me, like, "Do you want me to turn it off?" And I was like, "No, whatever." But like, there was also, as much as I was scared of something, there was always a morbid fascination with it that kept on bringing me back to it. So, there was a bit of a tangent, but just to say, like, about the the severed heads, that I would fast forward it, and I remember there were times when I would also maybe go back to it a little bit just to kind of get the sense of the scene. It freaked me out as a kid, for sure.
Yeah, but the thing is that this film is rated PG, and it is under parents' discretion whether or not they show their kids. I'm just interested because we both have kids. At what age would you allow them to watch something like this?
So, I don't know, because there's a part of me that's like really excited to share everything with my eldest. Because he's he talks now, and he talks, and he's very he remembers stuff, and he's watched like Despicable Me and Winnie the Pooh and the Robin Hood animated film.
He's afraid of the bees.
He's afraid of the bees and Winnie the Pooh. But again, his morbid fascination with things that scare him, right, is the same as mine when I was a kid. When we read Winnie the Pooh, he always makes me read the bit with the bees in it, which I think is very interesting to me. But anyway, I digress. The point is that I don't know what the appropriate age is. I think 10, 9, 10. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's too soon.
Things I don't know how old I was, but I must have been around that age.
Ghostbusters never scared me, to the point where it was giving me nightmares.
Yeah.
But were you just thinking Frankenstein never scared me? Is
yes,
that what went through your head? Because I saw your like mouth twitch, and then you decided not to do it. I was like, mental telepathy, astral protection kind of thing.
Bing, 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 bang, bang.
Popcorn.
Dan Aykroyd connection there. Very good. Gross Point Blank, see it.
Maybe we should do about that movie one day.
Yeah, we can absolutely. We can
but
do that
anyway,
as a watch along. Actually, that'd be fun.
That'd be brilliant. But anyway, I was just saying that the
I just want to say, fuck this cough. fuck it right off.
You're doing a good job, though. I think that you're really troopering through
Well,
it.
thank you very much.
Troubadour.
Well, thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you so much.
Oh, hello, miss. So I think that the question of when a kid is ready to watch it is kind of dependent on the kid, and I would like to sort of see how he progresses and how he shows me that he reacts to things. Based on what I think now, like not before he's 10 and maybe even after, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a great question. I think it has to be based on him and the way that he progresses.
I mean, I saw these things without any sort of parental guidance, and I don't know, scared me at the time, but I kind of like the fact that I was scared by it.
Can I change my answer though? Because I've just sort of thought of something that might sort of have a bearing on whether or not I make it through another day. Whenever Shosh says it's okay for him to watch the film is when he's going to watch that sort of film. I will have no say in it, and I will obviously talk to her first before doing it.
Yeah.
I think we made it out of that one okay. Right. Would you like to take a trip to my VFX attic? Join me in the VFX attic. Where else can you see VFX in an attic other than VFX attic? Yeah?
Yeah. Thing is, this is not a Halloween thing. It's always going to be a creepy attic.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is because of me. I'm creepy.
Sure,
Fantastic.
if you want that to be a thing.
VFX Attic today is going to be split into two parts. I'm going to talk about Ghostbusters Answer the Call in a little bit, but I wanted to start with VFX Supervisor for Ghostbusters 2 is Dennis Muren.
Dennis Muren is a big guy in ILM.
Big guy in ILM. They changed VFX houses for the second movie because apparently they weren't pleased with the results they got in the first one. According to Muren, they got a lot more visual effects shots than they initially thought they were going to get. Like, it was originally agreed that it would be one thing, and that was like 180 something, which nowadays doesn't sound like a lot in the time frame that they had, which was not very long. But once again, the ghosts were animatronic or people in suits that were then enhanced by visual effects such as glows and glowing eyes. What I'm about to tell you is I want to give credit where credit is due. This is something that I learned from also articles and things that I read on the subject in my research, but the first time that I came across this was the YouTube channel Corridor Crew, who talk a lot about VFX. They have a series called VFX Artists React. And they talk a lot about movies and how things are done. They talk about this particular scene where the Scoleri brothers in the courtroom come out. So what they did in the case of these two was they were, I believe that they were men in suits, sitting in electric chairs, and they did that whole blue screen thing. And what they did was they projected the footage of the two flying ghosts onto Mirrorplex, which is a sort of silver reflective surface, and when you manipulate the material, which is quite flexible, it would sort of stretch it out and what they say on Corridor Crew is they take it's like if you take a silver helium balloon and you mush it around, your reflection kind of warps. So when you're watching that scene and the Scoleri brothers are warping and changing and changing size and stretching, that's how they did it. They had motion controlled push rods to make them bulge and stretch. Slimer,
that's a very cool scene.
Yeah, Slimer returns this time, but with a puppeteer inside an animatronic facial control rig instead of cables and rods. But his it's the same effects. But there are some interesting advances in computers and what they're able to do. And so, for example, with some of the animatronic puppets, they would record a sort of library of movements and store them in a database that they could then edit down to the movements that worked for them. So if there was a specific series of movements that the animatronic rig would do, like a facial expression, they could store that data and then play it back at the touch of a button, which obviously made things a lot easier. And that's actually very close to how facial rigs in CG now, you can sort of create a library of facial movements and then you can call them back and bring them in. And I just thought that was really cool. So that is the end of Visual Effects Attic for Ghostbusters 2.
VFX Attic.
What's your favorite ghost in this one?
That's a really hard one because I really, really like the taxi driver.
The taxi driver
is in the first one?
I think it's in the first one, yeah. Yeah. Because there's...
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. So I like the taxi driver in the first one. I wish you'd asked me that last episode.
Okay, so the taxi driver in the first one.
Hang on, I can think of a second one.
Okay.
This is hard. See, this is something I wanted to talk about because the design of the ghosts in the second movie are actually quite different from the ghosts in the first movie because the ghosts mostly are very... as we said, sort of stylized and cartoony, but they used a lot more real-looking people. Like if you look at the thing Titanic. Of the Titanic and the guy running through the park,
is creepy.
There's a guy running through the park who is very, very sort of person-like.
Yeah, that kind of upset me this time around because I'm like, he's just running through the park. He's not terrorizing anybody.
Why are you upsetting him? But
what are you catching him for?
So, well, he's a ghost.
Yeah, and then Bill Murray does a kind of
bye, and then it gets cut too soon.
Not quite sure what that is.
But yeah, so it's a great question. I think that my favorite ghost for this movie is probably Janusz. As a specter flying through the sky, just because of how creepy it is and the music that's playing in the background. His arm stretches and he sort of carries Oscar off. And the thing is that what really scares me about that scene, it's a little bit, it's the red eyes, how they glow, and it's just unexpected because we've seen Peter McNichol's character as rather comic relief and very funny, and as we did at the beginning of the episode, rather indulgently quote every single line that he does in the movie. This is a really stark turnaround, and I'm able to kind of come up with my own sort of lore on what happened there. Is that Vigo gave him the power to corporeal or incorporeally astral project himself and take the form of whatever he wants, and the fact that is maybe his choice is really quite disturbing.
But also there's that creepy moment during the blackout where his eyes light up.
Also, yeah,
that's an image that stuck with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Childhood.
I think the nanny thing really sticks with me a lot. But the thing is that it's so hard for me to choose a ghost because there aren't really any of those stylized ones apart from the ghost that sort of pokes its head under the archway and that or between whatever. So
that was going to be mine. The one that goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just because I love the noise it makes, but
it's
also,
the only one.
The thinner Scaleri brother is I like that one a lot.
I guess you could say that they've got a good design, but I'm always distracted
by
one
of the holographic stickers I had was I think of the Scaleri brothers as well.
Oh, do you know what we forgot to talk about this? But in the context section of the last episode, I forgot to talk about it. Was the neutrino wand toy that we had that would project the it would make the sound of the stream. I think.
Didn't really.
No?
It went.
Right, yeah, okay. So in my
head,
a
very very annoying noise.
In my head, it was as a kid, it was the sound.
So you'd have to turn off all the lights, and it would project an image on the wall.
It had Slimer, and you had a button on it that could make the faces move. So it had Slimer, it had Gozer in its female form,
and the
Marshmallow Man.
Yeah,
and I only remembered that I've not thought about it in.
Where is it?
It's gone.
It's gone. Did they sell it at the
either at the car boot sale or it broke? These things aren't made to last for 30 years. Some of them
actually back
sorry.
Disaster strikes.
It's like there's a broken bum, broken table, broken eye. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that some of those toys from the 80s and 90s really do stick around quite a lot. Like they are built to last.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it was sold in the car boot sale. I feel like I really should have put my foot down on a lot of that stuff that was sold.
I remember the Peter Venkman that you pressed a button and his hair went up and his eyes popped out and his mouth opened. That was a really cool toy, and I don't know where that went.
You know that you can probably get those all on eBay now. Like
Yeah, but that's not the point. I want the ones that
you had that have your scratches on them.
Exactly.
So I was just thinking about that. I haven't thought about it in such a long time. It was just like big nostalgic moment for me to remember. I used to like my eldest goes to sleep with toys that light up and play music, and one of them has like stars that sort of you can project onto the ceiling. And I was just thinking, I used to go to bed with that, projecting these scary images on which they weren't really. They were more modeled after like the style of the cartoon than anything else. But that was it. I'm done with VFX Attic. Would you like to tell me a little bit about the Blu-ray transfer of Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah, it's a little bit sharper than the transfer for Ghostbusters 1, mainly because obviously it's more recent. There's probably a change in film stocks there, probably a change in cinematographer as well. I haven't checked, but it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous. It's the best it's ever going to look. It's a 4K remaster. And it looks amazing.
Especially on your TV, it probably looked great.
It looked great. It looked really, really great. Yeah. Especially like you can see now the joins. And a lot of people complain about this kind of thing, but I love it because you're seeing the detail that's already there. But on that very, very first shot when the slime comes through the crack in the pavement, it's very, very obviously shot on a soundstage. And then they cut to the outdoor shot of Dana walking down the street. But you can see all of that detail that went into the production design of that that
piece of concrete.
And it's just marvelous. Love it.
The thing about the museum is that they had like a miniature model made of it, and if you look at behind the scenes footage, I'm assuming for some of the VFX shots where like slime is crawling up it and pouring down the doors and flying off the top and whatever. The miniature that they made of the museum is really detailed and really gorgeous looking, and it's like I just really like seeing that stuff, watching people sculpt these things and paint them with their hands. I mean, people do that now in CG, right? It's the same thing, only it's less there's less
tangibility
to lose. There's less to lose. Control Z is a thing, and saving and coming back to it later, and you're not accidentally going to knock it over if you go the museum and knock it over.
But I love the different textures of the slime. There's a certain texture to it when it's flowing in the river. There's a certain texture to it when it's coming up out of the cracks in the doors of the museum. There's a different texture to it when it's coming out of the tap and when it's in the jar in the courtroom.
They've got the good slime and the bad slime, which is
they've got the good slime and the bad slime. Yeah, it's just one of those things it's an extra character in the movie, and I just think it's really, really cool.
They went really all in on the slime, and I really like it. It's really well done.
Yeah,
they actually said it's edible.
Ew, really?
They said it won't taste of anything, but you could eat it. And I was reading that line. I was like, why would you want to? But then I realized that they had Egon, Harold Ramis, who was, covered in it from head to all three of them were. Yeah. And there's a bit behind the scenes where it's like it's pouring over him. It must be going in his mouth. They had to make it non-toxic. Right. They had to make it so that it could go in your mouth and it would be fine.
Yeah, no, because there were movies, productions where the glue of that glued the latex onto the actor's face would be toxic, and the actor would have a bad reaction and have to be sent to hospital and things like that.
Well, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man suit is a good example of very dangerous. I told you that the actor was unable to breathe without breathing apparatus inside it, and also that the latex was apparently made of a rather shoddy material. Or something. I'm not sure. I'd need to check that, but it's apparently not a very safe. It wasn't a safe suit for the guy to wear. Let's put it like that.
Right. So I want to just talk a little bit about the story, about the characters here, because there is a lot going on. And if you think about sequels in general. Sequels get a bad reputation, especially sort of pre-Marvel, and Spider-Man 2 and things like that. Sequels get a bad reputation for being nothing more than a cynical cash grab, bigger and better, etc., etc. But I think they do a really good job of, first of all, establishing each of the Ghostbusters in turn, where they are, and what they're doing and how they're failing.
Yeah, reintroducing them.
Right. So Dana's had a child, and she's working at the museum, and obviously Ray's unable to let go of the whole Ghostbusters thing, so he and Winston are doing birthday parties, and
but he's got this like occult shop.
He's got an occult bookshop, and also a bit of trivia there. The kid that tells Ray that my dad thinks you're full of crap is in fact Jason Reitman.
Jason, hush.
Who is Ivan Reitman's son and director of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Very exciting.
Yeah. There is that. And then you've got Peter, who is Sigourney Weaver's character. Dana says in the first movie, you are more like a game show host. And here he is hosting a chat show. Which
I've never made that connection.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, and the chat show scene, I love it. I love the chat show scene.
I know you do, because every time you're watching it, you send me the same still.
I send him the same still of Peter Venkman
staring at the camera,
staring at the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. I love it. It's just a really great scene. But anybody who's paying attention will know that Milton, who is the guy sitting on the left, is actually right.
Correct.
Yeah, the world will end on New Year's Eve if the Ghostbusters don't stop it.
Exactly.
Elaine, who's the other guest, is just a wacko. Basically.
Yeah.
Hairless pets.
Weird. I really, first of all, thank you for that. I really love those little nuggets that you throw in there, because they change the way that I think about these things. But I never.
Oh, and Egon
that.
working at the university. That's the other thing.
Yeah, he's still doing the same kind of thing that he was doing like before, like with his research. It's I really love Egon in this movie. I love that moment where there are great character moments.
Yeah.
Which again establish friendship, and we were talking about this in the last episode. But how the three main characters are friends, and there are friendship bonds that are very clear. In the first episode I talked about how when Pete gives Egon the candy bar, and Ray kind of gives a sort of knowing smile, like he's sort of smiling to himself at these guys. So and then in this one, Dana comes to Egon for help, and she says to him, how's Peter doing? And she's like, does he ever mention me? And he on purpose lies and goes, oh, no. And then he scans her to see what her emotional reaction is to stall that.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
I've just made that connection.
Yeah, like
I never thought about that before.
He's trying to see if she still feels the same way that she did.
I never thought about that before. No, because I know that he's been completely callous throughout that entire scene towards the people on the other side of the two-way mirror, that they're having an argument.
You thought that he was just like being...
I never understood what he was doing, but now I get it. Like he's trying to gauge her emotional state.
Yeah, because that's what his research is. He was saying, I want to see how people's emotional states sort of change the air around them, and that is what he's scanning with that little device in his hand. And so he says to her like, no, and then you learn something new every day. A movie that I've seen so many times since I was 10 years old, and that's like completely new to me. That's brilliant. This is a big moment for me, I must say. Normally it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. Yeah, no, but that's brilliant.
And there's a few of those. Like there's a few moments there where like the thing with the toaster, where Peter pretends to have his hand eaten, and then they sort of grab him and they go, get him, is like a great like friendship moment where they're like messing about and ladding about sort of thing.
And Winston's a lot more involved this time around, by the way.
Also, a lot more involved.
And we've mentioned,
I think the fact that he has that hero moment, and the music also does like music, very like hero music as he comes in. He breaks the door down like as a great like moment. What do you want me to do? Shove my head in the toilet? It's a great line. And I just I really like this movie just because I think that there's a lot of layering to it that people don't really notice. And also, I think that Dana is very open to Peter being back in her life, and there are moments where
it's great because in the first movie you feel like there's no precedent for their relationship whatsoever, and it's funny because there are a lot of movies that I have that kind of reaction. Definitely, I'm going to mention the B word again, but definitely a lot of Bond movies where it's like, oh, he just met her and now he's snogging her. So there are a lot of movies where I just can't see how that relationship works, and this movie really kind of picks up that thread and sort of shows how the relationship didn't work, and it shows how they start to come back together.
Well, there's more to it because it's like the relationship, it blossomed, and I assume from the way that they interact and sort of things that are thrown out in the movie is that they were in a good place until she wanted to start having the talk about when are we getting married, and he would fall asleep and pretend to fall asleep, whatever it was, because he was just being a commitment phobe. Now I think that this is going back to what I said in the last episode about how his character really grows and matures, and there's a moment which, again, and I hate saying this, but I am what I am. I'm a parent, and now I watch everything through the eyes of being a father. Like when I played, and I'm going to talk about video games because I'm also a game developer and a game artist and an avid gamer. But in the God of War game that came out in 2018, which is a father-son centric, game where it takes a character who has had all of his previous games be about his violence and anger and rage, and how he's trying to teach his son about not doing that, and you seeing these character moments where he's
very
evolving.
Road to Perdition.
Yeah, it's very much that, and it's also what's the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he's attacked by a bear? Revenant.
Yeah.
So it's very that as well, and there's a moment where Venkman is, he says, "You want to play with a big kid?" And he goes, "I should have been your father. I mean, I could have been." And I've always had that be a sort of throwaway line, but there's regret there. There's a lot of regret that he missed out on an opportunity, and he knows it, and he's looking at this kid and he's going, "I fucked up." Right? And I think that that's something that I didn't really pick up on the last time I watched it. I think that maybe I'm giving it too much of my own interpretation or my own sort of thing, but I really think that those things are there. I don't think that they're there by accident. And when he starts playing with him, and it's very natural,
he really
for him
bonds
to play
with him as well. There's a few scenes where he's bonding with him, and then when you get to the peril at the end of it,
he's looking after him.
He's really looking after him.
He's making sure that he's safe.
He's dad.
He's even where he's like, "Hey, Vigo, you, the bimbo with the baby." He knows that they're going to be attacked again.
Yeah.
Right? But he's just trying to postpone whatever he thinks is inevitably about to happen to this baby. And I think that that's a very paternal sort of, there's a lot of heroism in Peter Venkman in this particular movie. That it's in the first one, but it's motivated by something a lot purer this time.
So that's the thing. I feel like his character really develops in this one, and people sort of throw this one away. But I feel like it's a lot more nuanced than people give it credit for. And it makes me think as well, there are going to be cameos in Afterlife of the original trio. Not the original trio, but the three surviving Ghostbusters. Harold Ramis passed away a few years ago. They are supposed to be coming back, and I've deliberately avoided reviews up to this point because I don't want any of that ruined. But I am wondering if Dana and Peter are still together, and I'm wondering if Oscar is going to make an appearance of some kind.
I haven't thought about that actually. I'd be interested to know that.
But yeah, I mean, because I am so connected to these characters and I do love them so much, so it would be nice to see some kind of development there in the third movie.
Right.
But
fourth,
yeah,
if you count the game as canon.
Right. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's a lot more to this movie than the sort of wham bam special effects and Vigo and all that stuff. I think that there's a lot going on with the core cast, and as I said before, even with Lewis and Janine, that's a really sweet relationship. That's it's played for laughs, but
he also does kind of go through. It's interesting because I noticed it this time while I was watching it. Right. Was that Lewis?
I was born to wear this stuff.
Yeah. It's played for laughs, but there's a moment where, after they beat the ghosts in the courtroom, and he's seen them in action. I think this is probably the first time that he's ever been there physically to see them in action,
right.
And he goes, they're like 2 in the box,
ready to go.
We be fast and they be slow, right? And he
his
goes,
head
wow,
comes into frame, and he goes,
right,
wow,
and he's like, he's inspired, and that he's then more like sort of involved in their lives, and he's sort of
he's in the ad.
He's in the ad, and he's taken on like a role. He wants to be a Ghostbuster, and then Janine gives him the suit and the proton pack and all of that. And he doesn't actually do anything, right? Like he's not actually
stay sharp, make good choices.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm here with you guys.
Yeah.
But he didn't have it in the last movie. That's
actually what I was thinking. What I was thinking during the finale was that it's a bit of a shame that what he does is actually useless.
Yeah.
That it would have been nice if he would have actually had an integral role in
I don't think that would have been earned. I don't think it would have been earned had he come in and
no, because there was a subplot that was deleted from it that did involve him sort of trying to become a Ghostbuster and
catch Slimer or something.
Yeah, that's what it was actually. Yeah, it was about him versus Slimer. And then obviously there's a payoff at the end where he sees him driving the bus, and then Slimer goes, which means.
Okay, I didn't get I didn't know you had your license. But so just like on that note, it feels like every character except for Janine, had some kind of character development moment.
Well, I mean, she kind of realizes that she wants to be a mother.
If you dig in real deep,
I guess that's her arc in the movie, but she's also a much more sort of background character than the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, she was very background in the first one as well.
Yeah,
but she did have like those sorts of, oh no, you can't come in here without a warrant. Like she stands up to people. She has like these strong moments, and in this movie, I feel like her characterization is much lesser, and that she has like
she's only in a few scenes, to be honest. Like she's in the scene where she says, "I'm leaving. Good night."
And Ghostbusters, yes, we're back.
Yeah, and then when they're babysitting,
and then she's the one who gives. I guess that's her moment, is where she's giving Lewis the equipment.
She's not in a whole hell of a lot. Yeah.
But you know what she does? This it's not a good thing, but she is sort of like pushing him to be more,
right? Which
is, I suppose, a thing that we can mention.
Yeah.
But I really would like to move from Ghostbusters 2 to Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Okay.
Because I do have a lot of thoughts on this movie. Preface it with saying this is actually the first time I've seen it.
Yeah.
I refused to go and see it in the cinema. And I don't have a good reason why not. I just wasn't interested.
So I went to see it on my birthday in 2016.
Oh, happy birthday!
Yeah. So my wife took me, and I remember the opening scene with what's his name from The Office. The skinny guy.
Yeah, the skinny guy.
The skinny guy. And then it goes.
Yeah, so it's doing like the music.
Yeah, so the song kicks in, and I wasn't expecting the song to kick in. And it opens like every other Ghostbusters movie.
Right.
So I was kind of sold at that point. And I remember enjoying it. I enjoyed it, but I did notice it for what it was, which was that kind of mumbling improv style comedy of the Judd Apatow ilk.
Yeah.
That it is sort of like mixed in with randomly with a Ghostbusters movie. And also the other thing was in the middle of the movie, during the concert sequence, the lights came up. in the cinema that I was in.
Oh, lovely.
So I'll always remember that. Don't know why that happened, but anyway, they went down again.
Lack of professionalism.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
But anyway, yeah. So I've seen it a few times, and I enjoy it. I don't have the. I wanted to talk a little bit about toxic fandom.
Okay.
Because this movie inspired a lot of hatred online when it was first announced. Not even when it came out, not even when people saw it, but before people had seen a single frame of it, that 4 women were being cast in the roles. And I've got my own take on this, really, in terms of like why that didn't necessarily work and why it doesn't matter at the same time. That it's got nothing to do with the fact that they're 4 women. It's to do with the script. It's to do with the execution. It's to do with the fact that there's no reason for them to be women, that they're recasting stock characters because there are 4 Ghostbusters in the original 2 movies, so they have to have 4 female Ghostbusters in the new movie, which I think Afterlife is kind of rectifying in a way, because there's no filling in of stock characters in that movie. They're all just kind of
are
characters. Yeah, you've got kids, you've got Paul Rudd, you've got Carrie Coon, and you've got the surviving members of the Ghostbusters who are, and Sigourney Weaver and Annie Potts probably, who are gonna cameo. But yeah, there's none of that kind of stock recasting of roles in the same way that they did with Ocean's 8 as well.
Yeah.
It's just a way. It's kind of like it's a focus group movie, basically. It's Sony Pictures saying, let's be diverse.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's justified for the for the characterization and the story of the movie. So yeah. So I enjoyed it for what it was, but and I also think that in a way the amount of vitriol that was spat out from fans of the franchise before the movie came out kind of gave me that kind of lowered expectation from the get-go. So when I went in there, I wasn't expecting to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's, first of all, great that you brought up toxic fandom, because I also feel that anyone who feels strongly enough to about anything to show any violence or death threats, like when The Last of Us 2 came out, and the sorry, I just slid the soda across the table to Jonny. Soda. So the in The Last of Us 2, without spoiling anything, there are some major character moments and deaths and whatnot, and death threats and hate speech, and a lot of those things were thrown at the very, very, very talented actors and team crew who worked on that game. And I played the game, and I was going, this is toxic fandom. Like
right.
If you care enough about anything to speak to another human being like that, using the C word, saying I hope you die and things like that, I think you should sit down until that feeling goes away.
Yeah,
right?
because Leslie Jones got a lot of that. I
think it's really wrong. It's
I think
ridiculous.
Also unwarranted, because I really enjoy Leslie Jones in this movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that there was a lot of that kind of hatred that was spewed towards No Time to Die as well. And let me tell you, we did a very long discussion on No Time to Die. We got 2 episodes on it. That is not what's wrong with the movie. It's nothing to do with quote-unquote wokeness. It's nothing to do with a female 007. It's nothing to do with Bond not sleeping with women, etc., etc., etc. It's to do with the script. It's to do with the direction of the franchise that they decided to go in. So yeah, I wouldn't say that any of what's wrong with Ghostbusters Answer the Call is to do with the fact that they're women. It's not.
I absolutely don't. I really don't think it is. I think part of why I didn't watch it was because I was worried that was what was going to be my problem. Like, I would be disappointed in myself if that was what was bothering me, and I thought maybe it might creep up on me, and like I'd go, oh, sigh, right? But like it wasn't, and I'm not. That's never my problem. But like, I was watching it and I knew exactly where my problems were. My problems were with the VFX, which we will get into.
Right.
And the characterization. First of all, I don't find Melissa McCarthy funny in anything.
This is
apart
something.
from
This is a running theme with Sai.
yeah, with Gilmore Girls, I thought that she was a very cute character. I thought that she was fantastic in that.
Because she was taken in
very
measured doses.
small doses.
Yeah.
Whenever she headlines any movie, I'm turned off by it. I'm sorry. I don't find her funny. I find her voice particularly grating, and I just think she's too much. Kristen Wiig is always the same amount of awkward.
Yeah, she's got that thing where she's like kind of like talking over other characters.
Yeah,
where she'll
mumbling.
So she'll be like, yeah, it's just like that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's. But that's what I'm talking about. It's always improvised, and it's always that same like kind of mumbling comedy that
Kate McKinnon was brilliant.
Kate McKinnon, I couldn't decide whether she was genius or extremely annoying.
I think a lot of it is the writing. I think that the writing and
I like the line where she says, "I could think of a bunch of things to do with a cadaver today."
Right.
I like that, and she does kick ass in the finale as well.
I like how she licks the two guns and she says it. So there's a lot of things also about the established rules of what the tech does. In Ghostbusters. So the proton pack and the neutrino ones are there to they loop around the ghosts, and they are a confinement beam. They say it in the first movie. I want a confinement stream from you, Venkman, right? And they use them so that they can they have no way to touch the ghosts and grab them. This is the way to do it. And they use it as a tool to bring the ghosts towards the trap so that the trap will suck.
But they're
them
also like nuclear streams, so they can sort of point them into the whatever portal it is and
destroy it.
It's scientific gobbledygook where they kind of like reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
Yeah. There's I'm not saying that any of it makes sense, but I'm saying that there is an established rules of what the tech does and what it's used for.
They can be used as weapons, though. That's what I'm saying. They can punch holes in things.
But in this one, it seems like, and I'd love for anyone to let us know, on the group, to the Facebook group, let us know if I'm wrong about this. But it seems like this, the streams are used to push ghosts back and to sort of vaporize them and attack them, and it's fine that they're but why do you need a trap then? And they don't really talk about them trapping ghosts, really. Like they do trap ghosts.
They trap one in a portable trap, but there's no storage unit yet.
There's no storage unit. There's not. It's all very kind of wishy-washy what the tech is for and what it does, and it's all there to showcase how badass they are, and
but also to like create VFX moments. And there's a lot going on in that finale. And it always amuses me that the convergence of all psychic energy is Times Square.
Yeah. So I do kind of feel like the tech there is a little iffy and not but I think that Kate McKinnon is very sort of kooky and crazy. Listen. The fact is that a lot of the casting in that movie is I think a little misguided. The fact that they used the original cast for little cameos.
I didn't love that so much.
I hated it.
The only cameo I did like was Ernie Hudson. Because he actually had a point to him.
Yeah.
Being Leslie Jones's character's uncle. Who provides the hearse.
Listen, I know that you said that you like Leslie Jones in this movie, but I still think that the casting is fine, but that she's a little too much, and the fart jokes, and there's too many fart jokes in this movie. And this is what we were talking about, was the subtlety of the first two movies. Yeah, how it's mostly looks and throwaway lines and things like that, and this is very kind of like even the thing where Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy kind of talk over each other. It's like they both say "let's go." Oh, sorry, you wanted to say "let's go." Like it's forced. It doesn't feel natural, and it doesn't feel earned. Like their friendship doesn't feel earned, and it doesn't feel like they've been friends for years. And they start off at odds, and then suddenly they're friends again. There's a lot of stuff, and also the characterization of tone in this movie is very sort of iffy. Like, Bill Murray's character gets killed. He gets thrown out the window. Characters die in this movie, which is actually not something that happens. You know, in Ghostbusters, these are ghosts. They are dead people, but we never see anyone actually die, if I'm not mistaken.
No. But I think what's interesting is that Murray had said that he would come back for a Ghostbusters 3 if he would come back as a ghost. And it would have been more interesting if he would have been thrown out the window and then he would have come back as a ghost.
I have to talk about something that I think that no one's going to agree with me on, but it's something that I felt very strongly about while I was watching the movie, and I know that we're now in a kind of very volatile state of, you know, a sort of flipping things on their head, and how you know, women are empowered, and that is what I want, right? Obviously, but I feel that this movie goes about it in the worst possible way. If you are going to make a movie which is female-centric about Ghostbusters, shit'll get off the pot when it comes to the original cast. Like, either they are the characters who they were playing, or they're not in the movie, right? The other thing is about stupid little moments. Like, first of all, why is Chris Hemsworth? They are drooling over him the whole way through the movie, and they are, and it's constantly being hammered at me. I felt oppressed by how stupid he is. Like, you know, they're hammering it to the point where, the male character, who's really muscular and looks great, is really useless and stupid, and he even becomes the bad guy's puppet. So he's the bad guy, and the ghost the main ghost that turns into the big sort of, you know, cartoon ghost that turns into a big one, who is the avatar for the main villain at the end of the movie. They defeat him by shooting it in its quote unquote balls, in its crotch, and it's a lot of imagery to show how, you know, women against men and whatnot, and I feel that is the wrong message. I don't know what the right message is, but I know that isn't it, and it feels that whenever there's feminism, which is again, I like to think of myself as a feminist. Like, I am, you know, definitely not against a female-centric Ghostbusters movie, but when you come across all of these moments that are so very, very aggressively, you know, hammering these points home, I feel like it's going about it the wrong way, and that you know, it's not taking us in a better direction. It's taking us in an overcorrective, violent direction in the wrong way. And that there's a better way to do it. It's sort of like, if you have this opportunity, you've been given this opportunity to make a female-centric Ghostbusters movie, right? There are so many things that you could be doing.
What, Afterlife? I
no,
mean, I wouldn't say that it's female-centric.
I'm talking about Answer the Call.
I know. I'm saying that is possibly a corrective course.
Yeah.
For what you're upset about with Answer the Call.
Yeah.
Because it's not a female-centric Ghostbusters movie, but there is a mix of male and female characters in, you know, in prominent roles.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the one that sort of the girl who takes the most after Egon it seems to be like the leader of that sort of, you know, that whole thing. So I'm really interested to see that movie. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to hear what you think about it. It just it upset me. It upset me just because I was like, why, you guys? You don't need to be doing fart jokes. You could use the template that the original Ghostbusters used. You don't just have to use the story structure. You could change the story structure, and you could use the same vibe. You know.
So that bothered me a lot about it, was that it does follow exactly the same story beats.
Yeah.
Even down to the point where they try to subvert, you know, when they go and visit the firehouse, and you know, and it's exactly the same point in the first movie that they go to the firehouse, you know, and then the estate agent says it's 21,000 a month, and Kristen Wiig goes, "Bone in hell," which I actually found quite funny.
There are some really funny.
There are some funny moments. And then they end up in the Chinese restaurant. But like, I mean, it's kind of like using something else as a template and then riffing on it, which doesn't create its own original entity. It's like very much.
But it's trying to shove that something new and that something corrective into that template, which it's not going to fit.
Right.
And
I think it looks to me like fan fiction. That's how it feels to me.
But again, I enjoyed myself. I
enjoyed it. I didn't
fun.
that kind of thing that you're talking about in terms of like the sort of punishment of men. I didn't get that as much because I wasn't paying attention to it or I wasn't looking for it. But yeah, now that you mention it, fuck yeah, it's full of that shit.
Yeah. And listen,
down to the moment where they're looking at the comments on the YouTube video, and she sees one that says "bitches ain't gonna hunt no ghosts," which is obviously a dig in the ribs to whoever was posting bullshit on Twitter in 2015.
And listen, it's also likely that that's something that someone would say, and have said. But I think that the way to go about it is not necessarily to make. Look, again, he could be incompetent, or he could have been the Lewis, of the group. That's what I thought he was going to be. Like I was like, he's good looking, but he's also, but the fact that they're also objectifying him and drooling all over him, and there's that scene really cringy, the dancing where she's like dancing up against him, and it's like, it's very like, what message are you trying to send to me, and what message are you trying to send to other people? Like, I don't understand. But
the funny thing is that having Chris Hemsworth there made me think of MIB International.
Why?
Because they're both very similar kind of riffs on existing properties.
I actually haven't seen that either, by the way.
I saw half of it, and I didn't hate it, but I got interrupted, and I never felt the need to continue.
Okay, well that tells me everything I need to
know. But it's like it's got the theme music and whatever, but it's definitely like an offshoot. It's something that's too glossy, too effects heavy, also shot on digital, so it doesn't look like the other movies. It's too jokey, like too broad. It's kind of it doesn't. What I want from a sequel or a reboot is something that can capture the spirit of what's come before, even if it's completely different. So those movies didn't do it for me, and also it reminds me of Bill and Ted Face the Music, which also was very glossy, very special effects heavy, unnecessary. It's shot on digital as well. Again, I have a big problem with that because to me, if you're going to shoot a movie on digital, it's going to have a very, very different look to the previous movies in the franchise. I had a similar reaction also to Rambo Last Blood. That even though I quite enjoyed that movie, it still had a very, very different look. So you don't feel like you're watching a continuation of what went before.
I feel like you and Christopher Nolan would really get on this because you're just like...
I think I'd get on with Christopher Nolan because I think he's a fucking genius. I'd probably be drooling on his shoes.
Well, first of all, not probably, you would be, but the just the idea that there are still filmmakers like yourself and Christopher Nolan and others who will definitely only shoot on film if they could.
Yeah.
Would you mind sort of just joining me up the rickety staircase one more time, back to VFX Attic? VFX Attic. Sorry, I have to really oil the hinges on that door. But I wanted to talk about some stuff on that. I will keep it brief because we are sort of closing in on what is probably a very long episode now.
We're within our time slot, but yeah.
Oh, really?
We've only got a few minutes left, but yeah.
I wanted to just sort of go over this because I have been talking about the other movies. I thought that it would be good to talk about the VFX in this movie and why a lot of them didn't work for me. The visual effects supervisor is Pete Travers. And most of the effects work in this movie is done digitally. It's all CG. I was watching a review of actually the other Ghostbusters movies from the Angry Video Game Nerd. I've forgotten what his actual name is. But he also does like movie reviews. His channel for that is his channel is just Cinemassacre. And he's very childish. I don't really like his reviews, but there's something that he said which I thought was really bang on the money, is that it's very much like the movie adaptation of Scooby-Doo, like the way that they represent the ghosts.
Yeah.
And if you've seen that movie and you've seen this movie, you can immediately know what I'm talking about. Like, I think that that's just a great, description of it. And what is a real shame for me is that even when they had a practical puppet on set or an actor in the makeup and in the clothes on set, they replaced it with a CGI double. The prisoner under the subway was actually a creepy looking bearded actor who was in those sort of prisoner duds, and they replaced it with, and it wasn't like they did it to layer things on top of him. They actually replaced him. And listen, the CGI in some cases looks quite good. Like,
yeah, I like the look of those two ghosts, the prisoner in the
subway ghost,
in the subway, and
the woman
in the mansion.
In the mansion. So I also,
but I don't like the neonness of the glow. Everything's neon. Even the meter that she uses is very neon.
It's all very saturated. There are very, very.
I also noticed there are quite a few shots
colours.
that are overexposed. I don't know if that's because I watched it on Blu-ray and maybe the 4K HDR rolls out those highlights just a little bit more softly.
Yeah.
But it looked to me like it was overexposed. And a lot of neon, just a lot of
it's very neon-y. It's
blocky colors.
Sorry, it's very neon-like, and it's very bright. And in the case of Slimer, or the Slimer character that they have there, they basically had a puppet version of Slimer on set, so that the actors could play off against it and look in the right direction and whatnot. And I kind of think, like, with today's technology, right, would it not have been possible to have done a puppet or an animatronic or something that was convincing and then enhanced it with CG? Or, I'm sure that with the technology, could it not have been done practically? Like, it feels like you have the actors on set, you have the latex thing, and the reason that they did it, and this is what sort of I found through my research, and if anyone knows any better than me, I would love to hear it. But it's so that when he flew through the scene at very high speeds, they could add CG slide into him that would fly around in a realistic way. And I felt like, well, I mean, if you move on a piston rig or something, like something that shoots it very quickly across the room, and you can have practical elements like that sort of sell the scene. You can enhance it with VFX and CGI. I don't really know why a lot of this stuff couldn't have just been done practically. I'm sure
it certainly would have been preferable. I feel like the entire finale scene is very busy and much too excessive.
It's very CG heavy, and it's a typical thing nowadays to have a CG fest.
Yeah, I kind of wish that Slimer hadn't been there as much as he was, because he's just so CG.
Yeah, and the Mrs. Slimer.
Yeah, the Mrs. Slimer.
It's just very unnecessary, and it's almost like, who thought that this would be funny?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was very strange, and
I also don't understand how all the destruction reverses when everything goes into the bottle.
Look, there are some great destruction simulations and CGI effects there. Like, that's really cool stuff. But
why
again,
does it all reverse? Why is everything completely pristine?
Know. There's some shoddy. I don't know. It looks like green screen when Kristen Wiig is jumping after Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
It looks very sort of like shoddy and not well done. But
yes, they were going to chuck them both into a fiery hole.
All of these things are done by hardworking people who put a lot of effort and time into it. So I'm not knocking it and saying that it's bad. I mean, there's just things that don't work for me. The design of the ghosts is not like the designs of the other movies, which is maybe on purpose, but then they have a lot of... Then why bring Slimer into it at all if you're not going to... Like, it seems like they're very confused. And also, you brought up the concert and the big sort of like dragon-like gargoyle-y type ghost that they had. It also seems very sort of... What style are you going for? Is this stylized? Is it cartoony? Like, it's a little odd. It seems a little all over the place, but anyway, I still enjoyed myself, and I was still able to watch it and still say, like, this is a good time.
Did you notice some of the effects sort of breaking out of the widescreen bars?
No.
Okay, that happens all throughout the movie, and it actually drives me insane because it's like a sort of faux 3D kind of thing.
Oh, damn! I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
See, next time I will, because now you've said it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's
No, they kind of went overboard with that.
Well, we can leave the attic now. I just wanted to voice my opinions on that. I think that if you can do something practically, you should do something practically.
Right.
And I also said this on when we were talking about when we were doing the Dream Factory. Whenever we can do something in camera, we should do it in camera, and the VFX should only be used for things that can't be done in real life.
Right. I wanted to talk also about, like, just before we leave the attic, I wanted to talk about the scene where in Rowan's basement, where you can see all the ghosts trying to claw out of the...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The only thing is that it looks kind of like one of those Halloween projection things.
Yeah.
So when I saw it again, like today, I thought that it was a little bit cheap looking.
I thought it would have been really
but
cool.
But it's kind of a cool idea.
It would have been enhanced if it would have been stretching, like, you know, in the Frighteners, how, you know, the ghost is like pushing against the wallpaper on the wall. It would have been really cool if the glass was stretching, as if they're trying to break through some kind of barrier there. And it would have felt a little bit more like it was touching the scene, like it was rooted in the scene a little more. But I was definitely thinking that when I was watching it, but I didn't think of a projection.
Yeah.
But,
it looked like they were just all LEDs, and there were images of these ghosts, like on the LEDs, like as if they were mirrors. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, I enjoy the movie for what it is. I wouldn't award it any more than 3 stars. If out of 5. There are certain things that I do like about it. There are certain things within the relationship between Melissa McCarthy's character and Kristen Wiig's character that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I like Kristen Wiig's character Erin's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that there is a backstory there, that that she, when she was a child, there was an old lady that died in the apartment, and she was visited by every night at the foot of her bed for a year, and her parents didn't believe her, so that was her that was her sort of incentive to prove the existence of the paranormal.
There should have been more stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah.
More character motivation, more understanding of who these people are, because again, it's not about the VFX, and it's not about the tech, and it's not about that. It's about the people.
But that's exactly
what they're trying to do at the end of the day is protect people and discover, and explore the other side, and sort of protect this realm from those other realms, which is it just felt very lacking for me on that front.
But that's one of the main reasons what we said before about why I love Ghostbusters 2 is that, surprisingly, when you watch it with a critical eye, you notice that there are a huge amount of character moments and a lot of character work in there. And I think that it's one of those things that I can't remember exactly who said it. Maybe Wes Craven said it. I don't know. But I've heard a few times people say that if you take the horror out of a horror movie and you've still got a great drama there, then you've got a movie that works. If you don't necessarily need the horror, if it stands on its own 2 feet based on the characters and the situations that they're in, outside of the horror.
It's the same thing that I feel about The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor and Midnight Mass, which are all horror shows on Netflix. That they are all character-driven, sort of character pieces that are talking about, whatever it is. In Haunting of Hill House, it's about family. In Haunting of Bly Manor, it's sort of about love, and it's all about unrequited love, and the tragedy of love. And what it makes people do, even like toxic love in the case of the antagonist. Yeah. That Midnight Mass is about religion and belief and how, if it sort of asks the question of if we, how do we not find the horror in religion, and those things, like
right. I've yet to watch that. I'm gonna
you really should. I've said it already,
course,
but like it's really brilliant, and the performances in it are great. But the point is that it really drives home that idea that if you don't have strong characters that have very human real world problems
Yeah.
that motivate them and make them struggle, that maybe intertwine with the horror aspects,
Yeah.
then it's not going to stand up. I just didn't believe in the relationship between the four female Ghostbusters, and
Right.
their motivations behind why they're doing it. I don't understand why Patty joins the Ghostbusters in the first place.
Yeah.
It was very strange to me.
It's
Just
convenient.
it's
It's just because she's
convenient.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Because it's written in the script. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it really, like, watching the first two Ghostbusters movies and then this one kind of drives that point home.
Yeah, it
of
really
how
does when you watch
important
them
it
in
is.
succession, for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, please write in and tell us if you don't like Ghostbusters 2. Tell us why. Because the more I think about it and the more I talk about it and the more I, remember it, even outside of my nostalgia, I just think it's a really great movie.
Yeah.
With some great, characters and great character moments and even beyond that with the different ghosts and set pieces and stuff like that. The courtroom scene, after the courtroom scene, it's like one of those things where you're punching the air afterwards.
Yeah, when Ray goes, "We're back!" Right?
Yeah.
I always get the chill,
Yeah.
and the shiver, and also, I would really love to hear from people, and maybe next time, sort of just at the beginning, like read off if there are any like really good.
Write to us. Write to us. And
Write
if you
to us
have
on
any
Facebook.
questions, comments, or suggestions of what
What we
movies
should see next.
we should see next. And if nobody writes anything, then we're just going to barrel through and
Yeah,
choose
we're gonna
something
do it
ourselves.
Who needs you, huh?
Yeah. And sometime in the coming weeks, we are going to go and see Ghostbusters Afterlife, so we will have a podcast on that as well.
We hope, yes.
And it'll probably be spoilery, so bear that in mind.
Go and see the movie before.
Go and see the movie.
Yeah, just go and see the movie.
Yeah.
Not before anything, just go see the movie.
Yeah. And we talked about this today, but I'd really love to go and see Dune as well, so...
Nice.
Or June. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's us for this one.
The
And
second part of the Ghostbusters and ghostly
this
episodes.
wraps up our Halloween.
Yeah. I wanted to say thank you very much for this more in-depth and sort of more serious, reflective episode. Like I know that we always dip into that, but I do feel that in this episode we were able to sort of touch on some topics that I think are very important to both of us, just on the parenting and the and also just how important the characters in these movies are. Like I do feel today like a breakthrough was made.
I think it's interesting with these podcasts that each time we go into it, we don't really know what kind of atmosphere we're going to conjure up.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 are very lightweight movies in terms of they're comedies basically, and we managed to find quite a bit of depth in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's a brilliant thing, and that's part of why I really enjoy talking to you about movies, because for me, I get a lot of perspective on things that I just didn't think about before. And I think that's a lot of fun.
Well, you also gave me some perspective today. Si.
I was very proud of that.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that. I almost peed a little.
Yeah. We also ruined Ghostbusters Answer the Call for me, because now all I'm going to be looking at is the man hating.
No, listen, there's a lot beyond that movie. It's just it really stood out to me for some reason. I can't really put my finger up it.
Oh,
no,
dear.
wait, that's not what you say. That was a mistake. Sorry.
It's midnight.
That got away from me. I apologize.
Yeah,
that's not what I meant to say. I meant finger on it.
Finger on it.
Just
Indeed.
Why would I say that? I have no idea why I said that. That's not me. All right.
Why not?
Let's stop here before I say anything else and I hurt myself again. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye.
What's our seat number?